All right, we are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Tuesday by the time you hear this, and we are doing a Substack live. And we have the good fortune to have a couple of guests with us. We have Eric, the Analytical Iowan, and we have TJ, the plumber, who is with us today. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about. And hopefully, we'll get a lot of people coming in and asking questions and making comments. Uh, we're getting a little noise from you, I think, TJ. Little
For me,
squeakiness.
I don't think it's me.
Well, when you backed up, it went away. So
Okay.
maybe it's headphone stuff. Um, anyway, the reason we're here on Substack, I love doing the lives, and a lot of times it's just me doing the lives. And I was just attempting to do a live on TikTok, and things were going along pretty well as they normally do. And
Right.
about a half hour in, TikTok took me down because of misinformation. Now, I don't know where there was any misinformation, and of course, I appealed it, and they said, "No, it's not approved." So I sit here on Substack, and I will just say this: "Fuck TikTok, fuck TikTok." Honestly, I have a lot more fun here on Substack. I don't have as many people here on Substack, and that's cool. But I don't deal
Yeah.
with Trumplefucks.
Right. Yeah.
Uh,
They're the root cause of why we get taken down.
yeah,
And the
yeah.
bad
Well,
part is,
A big chunk of it, yeah.
here's the worst part about it. Like, even if me being a mod, if they sit in that live and they don't say anything and they sit there and report it, we don't know
right.
that. Like, we have no fucking idea that they're doing that.
Yeah, there's not much you can do. I don't want to go on and on about TikTok because I don't give a fuck at that point. We're with Substack right now. We got a lot of great folks out there. We're getting people coming in. Jay, who was with us on the TikTok live, says I'm mad as hell and I'm itching for a fight. I hope some dumb fucker comes on here so I can rip them verbally, of course. Um, Spacer, I refuse to use TikTok even when it first came out. Good for you. Good for you. MAGA getting desperate. Yeah,
Oh,
Gen X Jace says this, and Gen X Jace we know is Jace who comes on the show frequently. He's from San Antonio. And, that's what we were talking about on the TikTok live. You were talking about this whole Epstein thing. And there is a certain amount of desperation you're getting out of Donald Trump, the Republicans, and the Trumpofucks for that matter. They want so bad to own the libtards, and the libtards are owning them at this point.
Not even that we're owning them, it's they're owning themselves. They want
True.
this list released so bad, like I was saying over on TikTok. They are convinced you're only going to find Democrats and left leaning people on the Epstein files.
right.
And they've believed it for so long that now that it's not coming out, they don't know what the fuck to do. They're freaking out,
Yeah.
going, "Why are you covering for the Democrats? Why are you covering for leftings?" They can't fathom this idea that Republicans or maybe even Donald Trump are on the list at all. That there could be some people they don't want that they would never assume would be there.
Right.
But because they're not seeing the information, they're owning themselves here.
Right.
And this is going to be the thing to break MAGA away from Donald Trump more than anything.
It's already making the cracks. And just before we got taken down, I was trying to make the point that they keep saying, why didn't, Trump said, oh, why didn't Joe Biden use this against me in the election if I'm on the list? Because Joe Biden, the president of the United States, who actually acts like the president of the United States, keeps hands off. Every president keeps hands off the DOJ and lets them operate independently. So,
Right.
so he would not compel them. A right-minded president of the United States would not compel the Department of Justice to take action, that would be political. That's not their job. And the president of the United States knows that. So that's why, because Donald Trump constantly thinks that everything should be weaponized and used against your enemies, because that's been his MO for all of eternity. He weaponizes everything he can against people, blackmail, or whatever it takes to weaponize it against them, because that's the kind of scumbag piece of shit that he is.
Well, and that's and what you said about Joe Biden explains why it wasn't released. That wasn't Joe's call in his mind. That was the DOJ's call. And unfortunately, we had somebody like Merrick Garland in there that wasn't going to do anything that he might think is politically incorrect or inappropriate. So
Right.
if anybody held these back, it would have been Merrick Garland, not Joe Biden. And somebody else made the point that Joe Biden's had some work to do coming out of COVID and getting things straight and being pretty successful.
Yeah.
The
Don't
the important thing people have to remember is that Jeffrey Epstein was put in jail and died in jail during Donald Trump's term. So why
right.
at that point didn't Donald Trump release this information?
Exactly. And let's be honest. Joe Biden got dealt such a pile of shit to clean up from Donald Trump. That wasn't on the fucking priority list.
No,
Let's
it
be
wasn't.
real. There was so much stuff that had to be dealt with. That wasn't even probably in the top 50.
But if Donald Trump or if Joe Biden had put a better attorney general in there,
Yeah.
they could have gone after Donald Trump for all of the bullshit he did with J6 and all of the crimes he committed and not sat on his hands. But beyond that, they could have gone after the people that were part of the Epstein files and prosecuted anybody on that list where the statute of limitations hadn't run out.
Right.
And that's what they should have done. But Merrick Garland, like Mike said, didn't want to do anything that would be deemed too political. So he sat on his fucking hands and went, well, this is a political matter, not a legal one. I'm hands off. Let the political side deal with it.
Well,
It's ridiculous.
And I said that earlier in the podcast before it got taken down. That he sat on his hands, and Joe Biden should have told Merrick Garland, "Do your fucking job."
Yeah.
And that should have been the end of it. Do your fucking job and take care of prosecuting criminal activity.
Well, what's interesting is that Gen X Jace made an interesting comment saying that Trump could fire Bondi and then rehire Merrick Garland. That would be probably the best fucking move.
Yeah, that right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he doesn't have anything to worry about from Merrick Garland because Merrick Garland's not going to prosecute him.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. People keep saying we got to fire Bondi. Like Bondi's got the last answer to this. And we know that's not the case. You can fire Bondi and put somebody else in there. That list is still not going to be released because it's
Right.
Donald Trump that's holding it back. And we know Donald Trump has control over the DOJ. So why, I mean, fire Bondi because she's incompetent, but not because she didn't release the files. People know
Right.
better than that.
Well, he could make it released right now with a phone call, but he's not going to do it, and we all know why.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was talking about this earlier that there's some leak that came out and said, you guys just need to calm down because he's going to release it. There is no way Donald Trump's going to release that file. There's just no way he's going to because
Fuck
he
no.
is on it. Now, the one thing I will say is people were confused because Donald Trump is confused. He said, before the election, he jumped on board this whole Epstein thing. Yeah, we got to get to the bottom of this. Those Democratic, perverts and all this stuff. And then they got what they asked for, and they said, well, you know what? There's nothing there. And then the pushback starts, and then Donald Trump comes out with this famous Truth Social post and says, well, it's there. But of course, it's all a hoax because Obama and Hillary and Biden, they
Right.
all faked this thing up. And a lot of people think he's just confused or diminished or whatever, and he certainly is. But I think a lot of it has to do, knowing narcissist is trying to set it up so he has some cover, thinking
Right.
that maybe this comes out, maybe it gets leaked out or something, and he has some uh, deniability in this. See, I told you I was in it. I told you Biden did it, but nobody's buying that shit at this point.
Yeah, it's so bad. Like, it's so bad that even the dumb fucking Trump-fucks aren't believing it. Like,
No.
they've been told there's a list for 15 fucking years, and then all of a sudden, Pam Bondi says, "Oh yeah, it's on my desk." and then suddenly there's no list, and then Donald Trump goes out and writes a 3-page tirade on True Social saying it's all the Democrats that created all the files. Even the dumbest of the dumb Trump-fucks aren't believing that. It's so fucking funny.
Well, they're so disappointed. They thought this
Yeah.
would be the ultimate of owning the libtards. See, we told you you're a bunch of perverts and pedophiles and all that stuff. But so they were desperate to get it. I'm willing to bet a large percentage of people on the Republican side voted for Donald Trump for two reasons: to own the libtards and to get that file released. And they didn't care about anything else, his convictions or anything. They just wanted that, and they are horribly disappointed because they wanted to throw this in the face of Democrats.
Oh
Definitely.
yeah, I think so. They wanted to push Democrats with it. They've been told for so long that Democrats are some of the most vile people on the planet. They do all of these ridiculous things. They believe some of the most heinous conspiracy theories about left-leaning people and Democrats and everything. That's how Donald Trump and Republicans are able to spin this. Well, they're performing gender change surgeries in school. Your child goes to school as
Jesus
your
Christ.
daughter comes home as your son the next day. You don't see him for 3 days. Whatever Donald Trump said about it, something that dumb. But they believe it because they've been told the most heinous things about Democrats for so long. And this was going to be the proof they needed to finally be justified in all of their hate, all of their rhetoric, all of it. And now it's been yanked out from underneath them, and they don't know what the fuck to do.
Right. And I'm gonna tell you guys something. Whenever the day comes that this thing gets released, I guarantee you it'll be 3-1 Republicans versus Democrats on that list.
Yeah.
I think you're a little wrong there, TJ. I think it's going to be 5 or 6-1.
Okay. I'll take the over under on that, Eric.
Let me ask you this though: it's not just Donald Trump that's got some power and is on this list. How much impact do you think there is, or influence by other very wealthy people, very powerful people, very famous people that are on this list that aren't barraging Pam Bondi and Donald Trump and the whole DOJ, that they don't want it out? I mean, we're sticking it. The only reason it's not being released is because of Donald Trump, but there's a lot of powerful people on this, and this would cause a collapse of a lot of things. I mean, say Bill Gates is on it, say some other big major corporate guy or some movie star. It's going to turn everything upside down. So I got to think there are other people pushing the DOJ not to release this stuff.
Oh, there probably is a lot of people that you wouldn't generally think is on this list. Like we were talking about, RFK comes out and says, well, I met Epstein at some parties. I mean, fundraisers, and kind of stumbles his way through it. RFK Jr. is probably on that list. Who else is on that list? And when those names come out, anybody who's associated with it, their name is going to be mud. They're going to, you're going to see them if they're movie stars. They're going to lose their contracts. They're going to get replaced in their projects. Anybody who's got companies, their companies are going to take a massive hit. It's going to be devastating to a lot of people. Nobody that is on that list wants it to see the light of day.
Somebody said, Eric.
Go ahead.
Somebody said, Eric, that Chuck Grassley's on that list.
And if he is,
I heard that too.
Bring it.
I knew you would like that.
I want to see it. I am sick of that old man.
That motherfucker's gonna need a Viagra the size of his fist. He's 91 years old, for God's sake. The thing about it is that people are asking what the Democrats are doing. Spacer says, I think the Democrats are contending with their own supposed issues and fighting their own problems. And yeah, that's true. And maybe the Democrats don't have to do anything. They can just let the Republicans eat themselves. And that's probably true. But there is one Democrat that's doing something, and that is Ro Khanna, a representative from the House. And he's trying to push a bill to put on the floor to demand the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, people will say, well, the Republicans won't pass it. Really? They won't pass it? Because the people who vote against releasing those files are going to have to answer to those mouth breathing, red meat eating pieces of shit that they call their constituency. That's going to be interesting if it gets up for a vote and it gets on the floor.
Right.
That is a brilliant move. It is a brilliant move.
It is
by Ro Khanna to force people out for a vote. And the thing is, one, like you said, they're going to have to answer for it. And it's not. I mean, the left has been calling for the release of the files for a long time.
Yeah,
but the Republicans don't care what we say about it. Their own voting base is calling for the release of these files and this information. And if they vote against it, again, rock in a hard place. And they got to decide, do they want to get reelected or do they not? You could see this come out with a bipartisan majority enough to override a veto potentially. Because if it gets to Donald Trump's desk, if he's got to sign it, he's going to veto that motherfucker. He'll give a reason. Well, I don't want to release it because, Biden and Obama and Hillary put my name in there, blah, blah, blah. His scapegoat excuses, and he'll veto it. But once
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, but once it gets back to Congress, his own party may be forced with no choice but to vote for it and override his veto. And then when his name comes out in this, that may be the ultimate move where they have to make a decision about impeachment, 25th Amendment, because they got to answer to their voters for him being in those files.
Right. Now, James says Trump will create a major distraction this week. So to put hold on, I'm losing it here. We'll create a major distraction this week to put the Epstein list on the back burner. James, under normal circumstances, I would agree with you. But when it comes to the Trumplefuck, there is nothing more important than the Epstein list. So that might work under normal circumstances as it has in the past. I don't think that works here.
Yeah.
And he's already done that. I'm going to investigate James Comey. I'm going to put tariffs on. He's already trying to distract, but he's got nothing that's going to pull them away from the Epstein thing.
Yeah.
No, he's not able to distract far enough or hard enough from this. Every time he tries something, even his voting base, the MAGAs are like, yeah, cool, okay, great, put tariffs on. Release the file. Bring it out. Come on, we want to see it. Bring it.
Wait, we can't do that. Well, Jace actually said something pretty funny in the comments. He said Ted Cruz is on the list accidentally.
Yeah. He's the he's the hand tall boy. He's not getting involved in it. I mean, even with Tay, nobody's interested in getting involved with him.
No, Ted Cruz is only on the list because he ended up there accidentally when he was trying to flee a natural disaster. He accidentally ended up there to avoid a hurricane or a snowstorm or something like that in Texas.
Well, you know what? When you look like Grandpa Munster, you're not getting too many dates. I'm just saying. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Don't diss on Grandpa Munster too much, though. The actual character was pretty left leaning. So were the Munsters themselves.
Right.
They wouldn't be associated with somebody like Ted Cruz.
Well, I'm not saying they were. I'm just saying he's the Grandpa Munster lookalike. He's a stunt double.
Yeah. The Los Gatos in Madrid, that I don't think anything substantial will ever come out. I disagree with you to a certain extent. I don't think anything comes out while Donald Trump is in office. He will do everything he can to stop it, but eventually it will come out. It will leak. There are videos and there are audios, and people are going to want to bail on Donald Trump, and something will come out eventually. I don't know when or how quickly, but it really doesn't matter to me when it comes out. I mean, I'd like to see it too. As long as it destroys MAGA, that's my first concern.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
As far as destroying MAGA goes, this might be the best. It not being released might almost be more damaging to MAGA than releasing it.
Fuck yeah.
Absolutely. And not only not releasing it, We know the biggest problem is one thing to commit a crime, but when you cover it up and people know you covered it up, that's usually the thing that kills you. So
Yeah,
I don't care if they release it while he's in office; it'll come out
don't
eventually.
don't you guys think it's fucking crazy that this is the final thing that's going to destroy Donald Trump? Like this, of all the shit that he did, all the
Yeah.
things, like this is the thing that finally destroyed him. That the
Well,
Trump fucks are finally going to see the fucking light on this particular thing. Like,
I
doesn't
don't think they're
matter.
even seeing the
Attack the
light.
Capitol, attack the Capitol, destroy, just subvert the Constitution, beat the fuck out of the police. None of that fucking mattered. But this fucking thing is the thing that finally fucking takes them down. I just that's unreal to me, man. I don't
But
know.
well, and the part of it that's actually taking him down isn't even whether or not he's on the list. It's them withholding the list.
Right.
Once it's out, something tells me they will do what they always do and find a way to excuse him being in the documentation. But until it's released, they're just chomping at the bit to go. Like we've said all along, they're wanting to go after all the Democrats they think are on that list.
Right.
Yeah.
But I
And
don't know. I
that's
don't know.
why it's taking them down, is because they're convinced it's all Democrats.
Right. But when it comes to light, and we all know how deep he's involved in it, I don't know that they're going to be able to finally defend it. I think that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, because he's not like he's going to be all over that fucking file, like all over it, not just the list. Like you can bring the list out and say he was on it, fine. But what they're calling for is to release the whole fucking information from the court case. And that is the thing that he's going to be all over that, and there's no way to defend it. There's no way to hide it.
No,
There's
there's
no
no way
way.
to defend it.
Right.
Well,
So I find
worst. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I finally think that this is the thing that finally takes Donald Trump down.
Well, see, this is the thing that I've always said is there has to be one thing that creates that pinhole in the dam. And once that starts squirting out and we find out that he's either covering up or that he's on it, then people are going to start falling away. And then a lot of other stuff. There's going to be an avalanche of all the other stuff that he's done. And people who would normally support him will go against him on those things. I mean, like the 34 felonies. I'll guarantee you there's Republicans out there saying, hey, he's got 34 felonies, even though they were fine with it during the election. Once people go sour on Donald Trump, everything
Right.
comes falling down.
Exactly. And
Well,
it's a house of cards.
Well, kind of with what you were saying, it wouldn't surprise me if there's a section of the Republican Party, the MAGA base, if you will, that once they see the information and Donald Trump is in there and it becomes public knowledge, that when they'll look at his 34 felonies and go, wait a minute, maybe they weren't lying about it may get them to actually realize they weren't,
Yeah.
like, up until now, they were able to excuse it because they were convinced it was fake.
Right.
And then once they see, like, this is the one thing they seem to care about more than any other, which is, it is kind of wild that this is the one thing. But if you've seen some of the, like, there's somebody on TikTok put up a picture of the girl that one of the girls Donald Trump is accused of being with.
Blessing.
And
Yeah.
she looks like a dead ringer for Ivanka at about 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That picture, I saw that picture. There's no way those girls are over 18. No way.
Yeah. No, there's no way. Now, WSOR 8478 wrote, maybe it's viewed as a very dangerous list, dangerous to whomever releases it. And I guarantee you that's true. Like I said, it's not just Donald Trump, it's members of Congress, it's other politicians, it's oligarchs, it's stars, it's rock stars. It could be anybody. And the idea that whoever releases that list could be dangerous. Well, we saw what happened to Epstein. We
Right.
saw what happened to Epstein. So yeah, it could be dangerous. Now it's interesting. There's a story out that's saying that Ghislaine Maxwell is willing to testify in court via video and tell what she knows. That I find interesting. We'll see if something happens to Ghislaine over the next couple of weeks.
Um, who knows? The one thing I saw was somebody speculating that uh, maybe Donald Trump would offer her a pardon in exchange for her not testifying about him specifically and forgetting that he was there. Uh, but then why would she do that? Because if she doesn't fully testify after had been granted a pardon when it called to testify, then she's in for a whole nother world of hurt. So
Yeah.
who knows? She if she's willing to testify, there's got to be something she's trying to angle for, maybe a reduced sentence or something like that. But it's going to be something when she finally does testify, if she does. There's going to be no way that I can see Donald Trump angling this to get out of consequences from whatever he's done.
Well, if it does come to Congress as far as, or the House, as far as releasing it or not, as I said, the Republicans can vote against it, but then they're going to have to explain it. But there's going to be some Democrats, no doubt, in this whole process that are going to have a lot of splaining to do if they vote against it. I mean, it's a tough situation. If you know you're on the list, if you've known you've been there, you got to vote against it. But if you do, then people are going to think you're guilty without even any proof. They're going to make
Yeah,
you guilty by association.
exactly. They need to get ahead of it. And I think any Democrat that votes against it, um, if it does come up, we need to hold them to the same standard we want the Republicans to hold their party to, and primary them, vote them out, call them to task for it. But the difference between us and Republicans is most people on the left would actually do it.
Yeah, yeah, they would. I mean, we sent Menendez to jail. We kicked him out of Congress and sent him to jail. This might be an interesting house cleaning in Congress and in business if this gets out at any point. The thing we keep talking about, the documents and the list. The real the really important things are the videos. We know Epstein videotaped everything. I mean, that was part of his business plan. Get people on videotape and say, listen, you better pay us some money, otherwise this videotape's going to get out. There's got to be
Right.
people with the videotape at some point. And somebody's going to pay a lot of money for that fucking videotape, whatever it is. It's going to be hard to hold this back.
It stands to reason that other people have copies of this. I don't think Jeffrey Epstein was stupid. I think that he gave copies of materials to people to hold on to.
Yeah.
And because just that's the way that criminality works. You got to have a backup plan in case, your leverage gets taken from you. So,
And who knows that? That would be Ghislaine Maxwell. That's probably what
absolutely.
they're terrified about.
Yes, absolutely. So I think that maybe she's the person who hid those other pieces of information. We don't know that, but I'm loving the idea that she might testify in front of Congress.
The other thing that people talk about with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein is they might be agents for foreign countries. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell, for example, her father was a wealthy guy, but he was also kind of an agent for Israel. He was a Jewish man from, I don't know where he came from originally. But there's talk that Ghislaine Maxwell and or Jeffrey Epstein were somehow tied to foreign countries and foreign intelligence in this whole process. I mean, think about that. Um, if you if you're Jeffrey Epstein and you got video of people doing all these things that are illegal, that are embarrassing, he could threaten them with it, or another intelligence agency in some other foreign country could be holding it over their head and making sure they do their bidding. I mean, it's pretty insidious, this whole thing. It could be
Right.
really fucking deep at this point. And that may be where the real problem is not so much these people being caught with young girls, but because foreign countries have this information and have co-opted some of these members of Congress or these wealthy businessmen. I don't know. It sounds crazy, but it really doesn't sound crazy with the shit we've seen as of late.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it sounds definitely plausible. And that should scare a lot of people that it could be happening. We don't know, and we won't know until the
Nope.
information's released. And then, uh, we need to get Democrats back in power, a decent attorney general who needs to dig deep into all of this, everybody involved, looking to see if they were being blackmailed by any foreign country because of any of this. Like, we need to know, like, this could be a multi-year, multi-administration investigation
Yeah,
to make sure it's completely dug out, it's completely dealt with, and that there are no compromises that are going to be affecting national security. That's what this could affect.
Sure.
right. Yeah, it's I mean, I think that's what some people are more worried about. It could open up a can of worms that you just can't contain once it's out there. I mean, it's going to affect wealthy and powerful people, but it's also could affect countries and members of Congress. It could be a fucking shit show. I mean, it already is a shit show, but everybody's looking for the old guys with the young girls, and that may just be the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, but you know what?
Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier, maybe this is what we need to clean fucking house.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think, a lot of this stuff, a lot of this corruption that we're seeing now that's very apparent to us has no doubt been happening for decades. And the
Right.
media didn't report on it or they didn't know about it and everybody kept quiet about it, kept it under the radar. But dumbass Donald Trump brings everything to the surface like a fucking fever blister, and we now know. And that may be a good thing. Now that we
That
know how bad it is, we can clean it up and maybe come out better on the other side.
right. Well, just like Matt Gates turned and ran away. I mean,
Yeah,
he knew he was done if he stayed.
right.
And these other motherfuckers that are involved with Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump, they're gonna do the same motherfucking thing. They're gonna run
Oh yeah,
away.
that's all they
Yeah.
can do.
Um, the thing about Donald Trump, he's worried about his legacy and being remembered. Did you see the thing where he said he wants to be remembered as a good person and the man who saved this country? None of that's going to happen. He's going to be remembered as a horrible person and the man who almost ruined the country. But
Right.
there
Well, if
is
that's
going to
what you were
probably
if that's what you've been hoping for, you're a little late. Your legacy is solidified, and years from now, Donald Trump will be a pariah in history, and he will be known to be the biggest piece of shit and the worst president we've ever had. If nothing
well,
else happens, that's how he'll be remembered.
I will
Right.
say he will probably get one if he does. Once this all comes and it's all said and done, the one good thing he's probably going to be remembered for is what you just said. He brings all of the bullshit and all of the stuff up to the top like a fever blister.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
exposing all of it. That will probably be his legacy of the only good accomplishment he has made in politics is getting all of it exposed, and then we can get to the root of all of it and getting a bunch of these long-term criminal politicians out of office.
Well, and that's
Right.
the thing is that a lot of these people around him helped him rise to the top because they saw him as a dumbass and he could be manipulated and they could do their bidding through Donald Trump and Donald Trump wouldn't even know. But where they fucked up is they forgot one thing. Donald Trump always fucks up everything he ever does. So as much as they want to be criminal or corrupt or perverted or whatever they want to do, they had to realize that Donald Trump was going to fuck it up for him. He was going to give them some free play and get away with some stuff, but eventually it was going to take a shit like everything Donald Trump does.
Right. Which is what is particularly great about this situation is that he can't distract for too much longer because this shit's going to come out and it's going to be the absolute destruction of him. And so he's
Mhm.
shitting his pants. And that tirade that he put on True Social 2 days ago proves that he's fucking losing it. This motherfucker he probably took his whole prescription of fucking Adderall because he can't, function at all because of what's going on right now.
Yeah, the stock market depends. The depends stock market is going through the fucking roof because he's got to
Right.
be shitting his pants. And this is where narcissists always find themselves. They're always able to manage and juggle everything, their lies, their misdeeds, all that stuff. But Donald Trump is at the point where all narcissists end up, where it's too much to control, and all the tricks that they've always done over the years aren't working. So now they're confused and they're flailing, and that's exactly what Donald Trump is doing. He's fucking flailing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He doesn't know which way to turn. He doesn't know what he can say. He has tried everything he knows how to do to divert from this thing. It's not working. But the other side of it is everything he's trying to divert to is failing too. It's not like
Yes.
he has any successes. It's not like he can point to something and go, "Well, see, look, this thing over here is doing really well." Everything he's touching right now is going belly up, and
Yeah, it's
he
not doing
doesn't know. He's out of ideas. He can't. Every time he diverts to something else, it goes belly up. He's gone. Like
absolutely.
his playbook is empty. He doesn't know what else to do.
Right.
He doesn't have anything to do. Spacer says this: the entire world needs to take a long look at itself. This could involve powerful people around the world, and we need to think about how we move forward domestically, but also how the world moves forward. I think this is pushing a new world transition and how we view our own humanity. And you're probably right about that, Spacer. We know that Prince Andrew is involved to a certain extent, and if Prince Andrew's involved, there are probably other powerful people that are involved. And part of me is thought that too, and not on that level. I was thinking in terms of the USA. Um, we've got so many problems with the government. Trump will certainly are a dumpster fire, but the Democrats have their issues too. You wonder if things don't get broken down so badly that we do get some dramatic changes in how we govern this country. I don't know what that would be
Right.
or how that would happen, but I think it could be. But if it does involve people around the world, like a Netanyahu or somebody else,
Yeah.
yeah, this could cause a shitstorm for the entire world.
Right. And that's all fine and good if that's the case. But realistically, if that is true, we'll let the International Criminal Court deal with that. But because we have enough fucking problems right now
Yeah,
that we got to worry about here than to worry about that shit. Like it will play some type of role on the political stage geopolitically, but I'm more worried about fixing what the fuck's happening here right now than if Netanyahu, is a
yeah.
sex offender. You know what I mean? That's kind of like down my list about what I'm worried about.
Well, I tell you this with Donald Trump, people think badly of Donald Trump and justifiably so. But when this is all said and done and the avalanche starts, people are going to get an entirely different picture of Donald Trump when all this comes to light. Not only the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, but all the other criminality he's done. He is literally going to be a pariah in this country when it's all said and done. When kids look in the history books, they're going, "The fuck is this?" Donald
Right.
Trump's future does not look bright at this point.
Well, he's
No,
not
it
very bright,
doesn't.
so
I think, and I've talked about it several times on the podcast, but I think down the road, generation from now, maybe two, it's going to be a thing where a lot of the red hat wearers, when they finally pass on, their kids and grandkids are going to be cleaning out their attics and find all the Trump merch and the Trump hats and go, "What the fuck?"
yeah, that's
It's
gonna
gonna
be
it's gonna
like
be akin to finding the white hats and the robes from a
right,
certain organization that's prevalent in the South.
or the red
It's gonna be one of those
armbands.
things that's hidden
Yeah,
away.
exactly. And what's hilarious too that I think is astounding is that Nick Fuentes went online on his little podcast, little Yahtzee podcasting that he has, and he was telling all of his listeners to burn those red hats.
Yeah.
Because he's so upset. Which about the Epstein thing, like that is astounding. Like that, and that shows you the fracture that's happening. When the white supremacists fracture off, that's a big telltale sign that the whole thing is falling apart.
Yeah, I've watched Trumplefucks on TikTok and on Substack and stuff, and they're upset about this Epstein thing. And they said, I supported Donald Trump. He's doing great things. I'd like to have them identify what those great things are. But the only thing I can say is now you don't like the guy now. But that says a lot about these people. They don't fucking care about anything but the conspiracy theories, the QAnon bullshit, because they really believe, as we've said, that this is a democratic crime, fully a democratic crime. Once they get what they want, it's going to be interesting to see how they react because they're going to be surprised if they think it doesn't include Donald Trump and a lot of other people they support.
Yeah, and you know what? It's just basic statistics. There's a woman on TikTok, and I can't think of what her name is, but she does a TikTok specifically about tracking conservatives who get arrested for sex crimes.
Yeah.
And like the numbers are astounding. Like it's crazy how much they want to say, oh, drag queens are reading books to kids and grooming them. No, motherfucker. All the people getting busted for fucking diddling kids are fucking Republicans.
Yeah.
And she tracks that shit, and it's overwhelmingly lopsided to the right. I'm sorry, but that's the fucking truth.
Yes, it is. It is so far lopsided. And then they explain it away for one reason or another. They try to anyway. They want to explain it. Well, we're really not the problem. It's like you said, it's the other groups.
Right.
Because they need that distraction.
Well, it's a deflection. It's a deflection every fucking time.
Don't you think, everybody wonders what the Democrats should do. Of course, we talked about Ro Khanna, what he's doing. But I think it's absolutely essential that Democrats and people like us that are creators on various platforms and those of you listening, we got to keep this Epstein thing in the narrative. We got to keep talking in these, or we got to keep talking about it because it's just going to fire up the Trumplefucks. We know how they think. We know what gets them riled up. So we need to keep them riled up. We can't let Donald Trump come up with any distraction. As much as they love to bitch about this Epstein thing, they are also stupid. So we've got to be prepared to keep them on track.
And Mike made a really good point right there, is that this is the one thing that we can't let get buried. We got to keep on this fucking issue. This is the one that will finally take them down. So we can't let it die because Fox News and all these other outlets are going to try to distract from this thing. We got to keep talking about it every fucking day until it's over.
Well,
this is the one big thing that we can't let go.
But I also think, we shouldn't let it go and we need to keep talking about it. But I think a lot of the Trumplefucks are confused a little bit by why we're not letting it go. Because, like we've said a lot, they're convinced Democrats and left-leaning people are the only people involved in it. I don't think they understand why we're calling for this list.
They don't.
They are completely confused, but they're accepting the support in this case. They're willing to accept our help with this if it gets them what they want, because they think it's going to own the libs.
Yeah, they think that it's Obama and Clinton.
With just letting them destroy themselves over the list not being released. That's almost more damaging. And I'm all for whatever damages MAGA, this Republican Party, any of it, because we need to be able to hammer them deep enough that midterms we overwhelmingly flip the House and the Senate, but we need to also keep that traction going through to 2028 and not take 3 steps back like we normally do.
Right, exactly. Spacer says, I think, yes, we have more pressing issues at home, but the issue I think we need to face is that the world is something we need to answer the call to also. Maybe answering it after we get rid of Trump, but we need it managed to manage the issues of the world. Remember Netanyahu starting these wars in the Middle East. Trump got elected in some respect. Trump's goons are propping up far right movements worldwide and vice versa. What happens here affects everywhere and vice versa. Well, anything that happens in the United States does affect the rest of the world. And we see that
Yeah.
now with tariffs and all this other bullshit. By cleaning up our own backyard, we help the rest of the world. And once we get to the point where we got everything under control, then yeah, we should look at what's going on internationally. But we got a fucking mess to clean up now. We better get on that.
Yeah, we do. We got a bunch of things we need to fix here in this country. We got to get back on track. We got to reestablish, in some cases, some government agencies. We're going to have to get people back on their health care, food stamps going back out to those who truly need it. We are going to have to dismantle some institutions that Donald Trump put in place, like Alligator Alcatraz.
Right.
Right.
You know, when we get back in charge, there is going to be multi administrations worth of repairs that need done. And the problem is, we can't let the Republicans and the conservatives and the supposed fiscally responsible party try to go after us for spending the money that is going to be required to fix all of this bullshit. It is not going to be cheap. It's going to require a big investment, and we're going to have to do it. And we're probably going to have to raise taxes specifically on the wealthy people.
Well,
Take it
did
back
you
to
guys
70%, take it to 97%, and we can get a lot
did
of this done in 4 to 6 years.
Yeah.
absolutely. Did you guys see the story today that Kristi Noem is encouraging red states to build more concentration camps?
It doesn't
Not
surprise me.
surprised.
Yeah, she's encouraging red states to go along with it and build more of these alligator Alcatraz style. Let's call it what it is. It's a concentration camp.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that Max, I forget his last name, the young representative, he and some other people went down to see this alligator Alcatraz, and they were just appalled by what they were seeing there. They've got 32 people in a cell, and it's just fucking hideous. And he was calling them internment camps. He didn't go as far as concentration camps, but internment camps are a little provocative too, based on
That
what we knew happened to the Japanese back in the 40s.
Yeah, it's a
They're
nice way of saying
almost the same thing.
concentration camp. Yeah, it's the
The
same
only
fucking thing.
difference, well, I think the main difference between the two is internment camps never used what 1930s Germany referred to as the final solution.
Right.
Yeah,
That's that's the main difference between the two.
Well, and somebody made a point too in terms you can't call them detention centers because detention centers would be a place where people were convicted of some crime. And a high percentage of these people are not convicted of crime, so you can't call it a detention center. Maybe you call it a concentration camp.
well,
Maybe it's an internment camp, but the bottom line, it's illegal, and
right.
the Republicans allow them to get away with this shit.
Well, let's zoom out big for a second, okay? Because where I live, and I'm gonna imagine that where I live and where you live and where Eric lives is probably to some degree similar. So where I live, there's fucking tons of buildings that are vacant, warehouse spaces, all kinds
Right.
of things that are not being used. So in any city across the country, you could take one of these warehouses and make a detention center where people had showers and public utilities and food and all. You could take one of these buildings and easily convert it. But they decided that they weren't going to do that. Instead, they're going to build a concentration camp out in the Florida Everglades and fucking create the cruelest conditions to violate human rights that they could absolutely fucking do. And that's absolutely appalling. And we all sit here and know for a fact that they could have chosen one of these facilities or a site or a commercial building that they could have outfitted easily to have detention into it if they were doing it lawfully, which we know they're not. But they could have done that in a humane way, but they chose cruelty. They chose cruelty. And that's my fucking big objection. And that's why I'm fucking pissed off, because they chose cruelty over humanity.
Well, yeah, they chose cruelty. That's the point. And Alligator Alcatraz is the official government name of this facility. It's not a nickname or something else where it's called like the Everglades Detention Center. No, they named it this. This is the official thing. And cruelty is the point. But like you said, most of what they're doing here is illegal. They're sending people there who haven't had trials, haven't had due process. They're trying to say they don't need due process, which a lot of the MAGAs don't even understand what any of that means. But that's another problem that we've got to deal with in this country. And then the funds they took to do it weren't allocated to build this thing at all. They took FEMA money. They took FEMA money to do this.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So what happens when a hurricane hits Florida and they don't have that $450 million to help people who actually need it?
Fuck them.
Yeah. Well,
fuck them.
I mean, Donald Trump and Kristi Noem delayed the aid to Texas. You're finding out that it's taken days to get aid off the ground for Texas. Kristi Noem put new rules into place where she has to personally sign off on any expenditure over $100K, and that's delaying things by 3-4 days. That they had call centers where people were calling for assistance, and then suddenly the people that were answering the phone calls got let go. They were doing their job, answering the calls for assistance, and just for doing their job, they get let go. And now, like 1% of the phone calls coming out of Texas are getting answered. It's ridiculous.
I saw some stats somebody showed on TV that on July 5th, they were answering 99.9%, 99.7% of the calls. On July 6th, it was 35% of the calls. And on July 7th, it was 15% of the calls.
Wow.
She can say whatever the fuck she wants, but the fact is, a lot of people were either getting no answer or busy signals when they fucking called in. And the whole point of FEMA, that's the other thing. I saw some video of the guy who's the leader of FEMA. Nobody's seen this motherfucker for 2 months. They don't even know who he is. He's not talking to the press. He's not doing anything. We've got Kristi Noem doing all this shit. I mean, and then this guy, he's a slimy looking guy walking around with a shirt unbuttoned to his belly button. I don't even know who the fucker is, but clearly he's doing a horrible job.
Right.
He's the latest scapegoat for Donald Trump. So when this blows up in his face, like it probably will, he can say, well, he came recommended, but
he was
I didn't actually pick him.
He's a loser.
He was a loser.
Yeah.
I'm going to fire him. We'll get somebody better in, and it'll be just somebody just as bad or worse.
Yeah, we're going to get the greatest pick to replace him. It's going to be the same bullshit. Come on.
Well, Leslie says blue states aren't even going to get a phone call when they have a disaster, and that's probably true.
Fuck yeah.
But when we're talking about hurricanes, those are mostly red states. Those are the ones that are going to do the most damage. And don't be surprised if the red states don't get their calls taken either, because they're running out of money. There is no money because they're building these fucking detention camps and shit. Donald Trump doesn't want to help anybody. He wants to give the power to the state. And, the funny thing that Kristi Noem said, the further disasters are going to be responsible. The states are going to be responsible for their own shit. And then somebody made her realize, well, you oversee FEMA, and that stands for Federal Emergency Management. and, and she just looked at him like she had no clue what he was talking about. And I think the incompetence of this is just as bad as the cruelty. The cruelty comes as part of the incompetence, and they don't care about the cruelty. But these fucking people have no clue what they're doing.
No, they don't. They don't have a
No.
clue. When it comes to FEMA, yeah, they want to kick it back to the states, but they got the Texas thing didn't get approved for like 3 days after Greg Abbott declared an emergency. It was 2 or 3 days. And FEMA didn't start rolling out till after they signed the declaration. Compare that to Joe Biden. Hey, we know hurricanes are going, and they had stuff staged and going ahead of time, just waiting for that signature. They were
Yeah.
up and ready to go. But Donald Trump, now I realize this was a flash flooding situation. You can't really stage and prepare for it, but it took 3 or 4 days. And then you look at other places that have had major flooding or major issues or tornadoes or whatever. And in some cases, it took him months to sign off on FEMA assistance for those areas.
Yeah.
Well,
They don't want to give any federal aid, but then they want you to be then they want to give it back to the states, let them deal with it. And you know the states are going to mismanage those resources, and
Right.
people aren't going to get the help they need. They're just
and,
not.
and the whole thing with Christy Noem needing to be able to sign off on any aid given creates an extra step, which is absolutely detrimental. Like it's just another red tape bureaucracy thing that is unnecessary, which they never had before, to slow down the aid to these people who really need it.
Yeah.
Yep. Because
James,
they want to break it and show that it doesn't work, and then say, well, see, Joe Biden made it such a mess that it doesn't work. We got to get rid of it. Even though it's what they're doing to break it that is causing it not to work like it should.
Yeah, they broke it, and they want to blame it on Joe Biden.
Absolutely. James made an interesting point. He says, remember how Trump was complaining that the temperature in the New York courtroom was cold, yet he praises alligator Alcatraz? Well, that's because Donald Trump is a pussy ass bitch. They should put him in alligator Alcatraz for a day or two, just see how he likes it. And in fact, when this all comes to pass and Donald Trump is held accountable for some of these things, everybody thinks he's got absolute immunity. He doesn't have absolute immunity. There are some crimes against humanity that he would never have immunity with. Donald Trump could end up in a jail cell that he might find a little uncomfortable.
Sure.
Very well possible. When this all comes down and the end ultimately happens for Donald Trump, when he's out of office and he no longer has the protections of the presidency, he is going to be trying to flip on anybody he can. He's going to want to cut deals. He's going to throw anybody and everybody under the bus that he can. It is going to be something to watch. He knows what's coming. That's why he keeps floating this idea of running for a third term and changing the Constitution so he can and doing all this, because he knows that his protection is limited, and that if when it's gone, he's screwed, and he can see the writing on the wall, and he doesn't want to face it.
Well, he's a little overconfident when it comes to his mortal health. You just take a look at the guy. He's not looking good. He's not sounding good. He walks weird. He's 79 years old. I don't think we're long for dealing with a breathing Donald Trump. Now, Reggie Cole says, I may not have legal legs to stand on, but I'm a fan of blue states withholding the federal tax they collect. And there are some people talking about that, people like Gavin Newsom. And frankly, I don't know what the legal thing is behind that, but if you start cutting off funding, then why wouldn't? I mean, if you're cutting off funding saying the states need to take care of their own, then it would make sense that the states would keep their money and take care of their own. That's what you're asking for. See, that's the thing. They don't want they want to cut Medicaid, they want to cut Social Security, they want to cut FEMA, but they still want to collect the money from us. And here's the deal. If I'm investing in something, I better get a return on my investment. Even the
Sure.
wealthy oligarchs would say that. So if I'm paying money in to protect my home or protect my community, you better be there to protect it if I'm paying you money. And if not, I'm not paying you for it.
Yeah. I don't know how that would work for keeping blue state money out because technically, unless the state themselves pay a chunk out of their state revenue, it's all coming from individual taxpayers. So I don't know how the state would be able to prevent that from happening. But I like the idea that, with all the donor states, if they don't chip in their financial contribution, that the Republican states are going to suffer.
Yeah, but
We know
don't you guys think that it has to be a united front? So like
Yeah.
Hochul, Hochul and Pritzker and Newsom and they need to get
Walsh.
together and Walsh, they need to get together and say, "Hey, we got to do this together or it's not going to work." And that's what they need to do. Is really put the screws to them. Be like, "Okay, well, it's not lawful for us to hold up the payments for tax money, but Donald Trump doesn't really care what's lawful or not. So we'll just hang on to this money for a while, and we'll see how things go." That's what
Yeah,
needs to happen.
that's one of the things that Democrats have to learn. If you are in a fight with somebody who breaks all the rules, but you want to stand with the rules, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Right.
You need to take advantage of the things they've broken down and use it against them. My dad never told me many things that were of value, but one thing he did tell me, he said, "Look, man, if you get in a fight and there's a stick laying there, pick that
Pick it
fucker
up.
up before that guy does and
Yeah.
hit him over the head with it." And, the Democrats have always, well, we don't want to do that. It's not a good look. Fuck the good look. We got to win
Yeah.
here. And whatever it takes to do that, we need to do it.
And, and I
I'm
feel
gonna
like my Governor Shapiro would be on board with that.
Yeah, I think you
I'm
probably
gonna
would.
I'm gonna counter that a little bit though. With all of the rule breaking that the Republicans are doing, if Democrats stoop to their level, then you've automatically there's that group in the middle that always says, well, both parties are the same. Both parties are the same.
Yeah.
You can't stoop to their level because then you're proving them right though. And then there's no chance of winning them over to our side of voting for the stuff that is right. You have to let the Republicans break it as far as they can to get those people to realize that no, both parties aren't the same. If
Right.
you
Right.
That's the
Yeah,
only thing.
that's legit.
That's my biggest complaint about that is we can show them all day long that both parties aren't the same. But even if we do it once, we stoop to their level and break some laws, they immediately have fuel. Well, see, they're both the same. We have to almost hold to that slightly higher moral high ground and hold ourselves accountable to have any chance. Because how
Right.
can you
But
how
but
can you
but
be a better person than if you're
I
doing the same thing they're doing?
I
I will
get what
say
you're
this.
saying. I get what
I
you're
will say
saying,
this,
Eric.
sir. Go ahead.
I get what you're saying, Eric. But how many times are we going to get run over by the Republicans? I mean, that we do that all the time. We take the high road and we try to set a moral fucking standard, and no one gives a fuck about it. They just fucking say, "Oh, fuck it," like the Democrats are weak and they're fucking pussies and they're not going to do anything. It's going to be the
Right.
same thing again if we do that. So
Well, and here's
maybe we got to play the same game that they're playing and show them because the bottom line is this is that the Trump-fucks are never going to come to our side. Never.
no.
Like this
Well, I'm
might
not talking
this
about the Trump fuck.
But
this
but
this
here's
ha-
here's the deal. Um, what you're saying, Eric, would be legitimate to me if we had one completely bad side and one completely good side. And this is maybe
right.
where we've made the mistake. We know the Republicans are a dumpster fire and they are a danger to this country and our democracy. if it were the case that the Democrats were all good and pure and everything, I could see that play. But the fact of the matter is we're seeing more and more that the Democrats are not all good. There's a handful of them that are, and that's why I
Yeah.
think if they go at it and it breaks everything down, maybe that's what needs to be done in order to get back on track and get the people in this country back in control. If the Democrats were perfect and doing everything right, I would agree with you. But let's turn this into fucking Hunger Games and pick up the
Right.
pieces in the end.
I mean, I see what you're saying. Democrats aren't perfect. I'm not even going to try to say they are. They have
I
their
wouldn't even
own
say they're
issues.
good.
They're better than the alternative at this point.
Right.
If the labels were switched, like it's not about the label, it's about what they're doing. Right now, I'm siding with the Democrats because they're at least trying to help as many people as they can. They're the ones trying to uphold democracy for the most part. And the Republicans are such a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
But once we've talked about a lot, once we get the Republicans out of the way and we can start working on fixing everything, then the Democrats got to fix their own house. Unfortunately, this isn't a fix your house first situation anymore.
no,
You gotta put out the fire in your neighbor's house before it burns yours down too.
yeah.
That's where we're at.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing about it is, I understand the point, and it's the point I made during the November 5th election. You may not like Kamala Harris, but it's better than the alternative, and it gets you closer to what you want. So if you voted for Kamala Harris and you wanted somebody more far left, you have that opportunity in the next election to get there. But if you vote for Donald Trump because you can't get everything you want from Kamala Harris, you're never going to get what you want. So uh, I agree with you in that respect that we have to take the best option to get out from underneath this shit show. But I don't think it's up to the Democrats to fix it. I think it's up to us to fix it because they'll keep doing what they're doing, getting money from APAC, getting money from all the big lobbies. There are problems on the Democratic side, and there are a few people that are good on the Democratic side. But we almost need a whole teardown if we really want this country running the way it's supposed to, according to the Constitution.
Yeah, I mean, and there's some work going toward that. Um, the Republicans are tearing themselves apart. Look at how many
Yeah,
people are either not running or they are considering not running, which opens the doors to fresh people, fresh ideas, and different people running for both parties, and may open some seats up. I've talked a lot about that, but we also need to start primarying out some of these long-term Democrats. And this is not a knock against everything she's accomplished, but Nancy Pelosi needs to go.
yeah,
She's
Yeah.
80 whatever years old. She was supposed to retire like 2 sessions ago, and she's still hanging around and still has her thumb on the scale of everything.
yeah,
Right.
These people who have been 18, they turned 18 well before most of us were alive. They don't know what it's like anymore living in this economy and how things work in the modern time. They were able to go out and work one job, buy a house, support a family of 4 on the minimum wage. That's gone. That's been gone most of my lifetime.
absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, the way it's been most of your lifetime isn't all the fault of the Republicans. It's the Democrats. I mean, let's be honest. Democrats had plenty of opportunities to codify Roe v. Wade, and they chose not to do it. They had better things to do at the time. We've got to get these people in
Crazy.
line and make them understand that they work for us. And I think some of these Democrats, as well as Republicans, think they're elite and they can make better choices for us. I mean, look at the Republicans. 70% of the people hated the bill that they just fucking passed. Who are they working for? Not us.
Yeah, that is going to be the other thing that comes back. But we have to make sure we keep talking about that big ugly tax bill that they passed, because
Yeah,
Republicans put a time bomb in there. And they
yeah,
did what they always do. They delayed it. So some of the cuts start after the midterms when they're presuming Democrats are going to have majority in one or both of the houses of Congress. Some of it doesn't start until 2028 or later, so that they can say, well, hey, look, Democrats did this, it wasn't Donald Trump. They did this ahead, even though it was all at the feet of Donald Trump. Same thing with Donald Trump's tax plan from his first term. Our tax cuts were temporary and they expired in 2021. Well, then
Right.
Joe Biden gets the blame for everybody's taxes going up. When he didn't pass a tax plan, that was Donald Trump. But the dumb fucks didn't understand it, and you couldn't teach it to them.
Right. Right. Sue Irvin 4 says, there you are. Sucks you got kicked off TikTok. I didn't see any violations. Neither did I, and fuck TikTok at this point. I can always count on coming to Substack and doing kind of a calm thing here. And I'm fortunate that I had Eric and TJ to join me. But yeah, I'm a little pissed off at TikTok at this point. So I appreciate you finding us here because this has always been a safe spot. It's not as hectic, it's not as crazy, but I don't have to deal with Trumplefucks. Thank you, Seuss. Thank you for trying to find us here and actually accomplishing that. Um, when we look at 2026, and you were talking about how they push some of these cuts back after the midterms, and that's how they do business pretty much. They try to hide behind shit. But there's some other stuff that's happening. I mean, as I've said, Donald Trump will always fucks things up. The cuts may not be there till after the 2026 elections, but between the deportations, Jeffrey Epstein, there's going to be plenty to piss Republicans off and cost them the midterm. And we can still talk about what's going on with the bill so people understand what's going on. And there will be some ramifications even before 2026 from this bill. Maybe not quite as big as what's going to happen afterwards, but we are very soon going to have the largest um, national law enforcement arm in ICE, and we know the kinds of things they are doing. So people are going to be a little pissed off about how much money is going to these fucks.
Right.
Oh yeah. That's going to be something we got to keep talking about. And people are going to get more and more upset. We've got another No Kings protest coming up here in just a couple days. That's going to be huge. And last time we were almost at what they consider the tipping point for major change in percentages of people out protesting. It's like, was it 4% or something like that? So,
yeah, sounds right.
Is enough to sway public opinion to make major changes. And if we're at 4% 6 months into his second term, what are we gonna be like come the midterms? What are we gonna be like come 2028 during this next presidential election? The opinion against Republicans and Donald Trump is gonna be so bad, in my opinion, that as long as the Democrats don't fuck it up, they could end up being in power for 10, 15, 20 years.
100%.
They could be. Now, Spacer makes an interesting point. He says we need to give our side something to fight for. The Democrats have not established any vision for the future. And frankly, that's a good point. We know that saying Donald Trump sucks and look at all these crimes he's committed doesn't work because it didn't work on November 5th. Over and above exposing Donald Trump and the Republicans, which we need to do, there does have to be some direction from the Democrats. There's a lot of problems out there. People are suffering. They need to come up with answers and they need to fucking talk about it. Doing what they did on November 5th doesn't work. And as long as we have the old establishment fucks in there, they're going to go at it the same way. So that's one reason why 2026 is important. We need more young people out there.
We do. And we got to get a message out there that works for everybody. We got to get an idea going and get that message going. But one of the things that is going to be working in our advantage more than anything is the number of Republicans that are saying, wait a minute, maybe not. Maybe I don't want to run anymore. Maybe I need to step away. Here in Iowa, they're trying to put pressure on Joni Ernst, the junior senator of Iowa, who's in her second term, to run again. They want her back on the ballot, even though she comes out when they're having that town hall meeting and she's talking about Medicare and Medicaid going, yeah, well, we're all going to die anyway.
Yeah.
You know, she's damaging her own reputation. They still want her on the ballot because they know if they bring anybody else on that ballot, people are going to have to look closely at both candidates, and they don't want a decision. They want people to go, I know that name, check the box.
Right.
And the more Republicans we can force out, the better chance in some deep red or red leaning areas like even Iowa, we have a chance at flipping as many seats in both the House and the Senate as possible.
And that's the key. And if they do get the majority in the House, at least, but maybe they get the majority in the Senate too. If that happens, uh, without question, we're going to see another impeachment of Donald Trump. Whether he'll get a conviction in the Senate, who knows? It depends on how big of margin that the Democrats get and how many Republicans get tired of this shit. But there will be another impeachment, and Donald Trump will love the fuck out of that. The one good thing I'm hoping for, at least winning the House, is that for the next 2 years, Donald Trump will get nothing done, and there'll be nothing but investigations and hearings on the criminal shit all of the Republicans have done. It'll be a constant barrage of exposing the criminality and the corruption that these fuckers are putting on this country.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Well, and as you're putting on all these investigations, the one difference between what the Republicans tried to do with Joe Biden and what the Democrats would be able to do with Donald Trump is they'd actually be able to have witnesses and evidence and all of that stuff. It won't be some closed door behind, hidden thing. Well, we got a witness that says that he did this, and then you never see it again.
Right.
It's going to be public. It's going to be open. It's going to be damning, akin to what happened with the January 6th hearing at the end when they had their big final presentation. And that finally put some fire under Merrick Garland. Not enough, but it wasn't until then that he even did anything like appoint Jack Smith. The
Right.
public pressure when they do these public hearings is going to mount, and Republicans aren't going to be able to get away from it.
Well, I was telling Mike earlier that Merrick Garland fucked this whole thing up. If Merrick Garland would have done his job, then we wouldn't be in this position that we're in right now.
Yeah, and we got to stop giving him a pass. Once we get a little air to breathe, we need to bring him back to the forefront and give him the retribution he needs. And then when I say retribution, I'm talking about calling him out for the stupid shit he's done. We can do to him what they tried to do to Fauci, but this is real in this case. Had Merrick Garland done what he was supposed to do, we wouldn't be in this situation. Donald Trump would be in jail.
Yeah, but beyond what Merrick Garland dropping the ball, if Mitch McConnell had done what he was supposed to have done, we wouldn't have been in this situation either.
True.
Because if Mitch McConnell would have had the balls to vote to convict Donald Trump in that second impeachment, I think enough members of the Senate would have gone along with it. He would have been out. But Mitch McConnell punted and said, well, it's a criminal matter. We're going to let the DOJ and the Attorney General deal with it. And then you get Merrick Garland who goes, well, it's not a criminal matter. It's a political matter. And we're going to let politics handle it. They both punted to each other and nothing got done. And that between the two of them, one or the other should have done something because they both had the opportunity and the ability to do something. But neither wanted to stand ground and do anything.
Do you think Mitch McConnell was surprised that Merrick Garland didn't do anything?
I think so. I don't think he'll ever admit it, but I think he was. I think he was expecting a tougher pick from Joe Biden, somebody to come out and be more of an attack dog and actually go after Trump. He wanted Democrats to clean up their mess because they didn't want to be in this position again. I think Mitch McConnell wanted Donald Trump handled criminally so the Republican Party could move on from Donald Trump without having to do it themselves, so they wouldn't lose the MAGA base.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. If they would have voted against him, it would have fractured the Republican Party, and those dumb fucks that follow Donald Trump, no matter what, they wouldn't vote for Mitch McConnell or any of the Republicans that voted to impeach Donald Trump. And it's the kind of the same thing I've talked about now. We've talked about the prospects of the Republicans having just too much, especially after the 2026 election, assuming it goes the way we think, that they would impeach him. But that's a problem because it would still fracture the Republican Party for those dumb fucks, even after Epstein, that still believe in this idiot. The best thing that could happen is that for Republicans at this point, that Donald Trump keels over, choking on a Big Mac. That's the only way they can come out of this looking clean.
I don't even know if that'll be enough because once the Democrats get power again, depending on how long it's been, there's still going to be hearings about what did Donald Trump know? What did he do? How bad was his health? They're going to drag Donald Trump out and expose all of it, living or dead. And Republicans aren't going to be able to get away from it for a while. If at least that's what I think. And if Democrats were smart, that's what they would do. There is so much corruption, criminality, and everything going on with Donald Trump. They need to get it all exposed, living or dead, for Donald Trump. He needs to come out and it needs to be exposed to the light of day, way more than what they ever did with the Watergate investigation.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If something did happen to Donald Trump and he keeled over, we still need to do the investigation, if for no other reason, so that it doesn't happen again. Because what happened is so appalling in this country. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. And people in this country, you'll get the Democrats or the Republicans saying, well, we just need the country to heal. I tell you, at this point, after 10 years of this bullshit, the only way you're going to get people to heal is investigations, prosecutions, and retribution. That's the only way people are going to heal, because they feel like politicians can get away with anything. And apparently that's true. We've got to change that narrative. Otherwise, people will never trust any politician, nor should you.
Yeah. I mean, we need to have it all exposed to the light of day. But it's more than just, we need it exposed in such a way that even the most simple-minded Trump supporter can see exactly what was going on. It needs to be overwhelming evidence. They need to bring it all out, and expose it all, because we can't have this fracture of two or three different points of view, and everyone's saying, well, I believe different facts than you do. No, that doesn't work, not on a major scale. We got to unify everyone, and that's like the only way that's going to happen.
Well, Spacer says, what about the possibility that we elect another Democratic president, like if, say, Newsom were to be the president, and being more establishment, he would put another ineffective AG up, and give us a little healing nonsense. I don't know if Newsom would do that. I mean, Newsom's the only one that's really shown lately, and I'm not necessarily a fan of Newsom. I don't know that he's going to be the candidate because it's too early to tell, and a lot of things can happen. But we need somebody who is a bulldog, somebody who is a fighter, and he's the one guy that's shown that that's how he is. I don't know how he would be as a president, but I'll be honest, whoever the next president is, the most things they can accomplish is undo some of the bullshit that Donald Trump has done, and then also offer up some retribution and clean out the system a little bit. So the next president is going to be a busy motherfucker, and I don't know that they're going to even be able to accomplish much progressively, because they're going to be cleaning up what we've got and taking down the people that committed the crimes.
It's going to be tough to clean up the mess from this. It's going to take years, and just to replenish the government agencies. I mean, they're cutting people from the VA. I got a friend that works at the VA, and it's astounding the amount of people that they're cutting, and that's really bad. I mean, that's such a slap in the face of the people who serve this country. You take away services, particularly mental health and the things that these people really need, that have PTSD and we lose thousands of veterans every year to suicide. I mean, that's not acceptable. And it's going to be not only the VA, but all the other government agencies, whether it be OSHA, like OSHA's getting cut. There's so many things that are on the chopping block that help regular Americans that it's going to take a long time to fix. It's the great brain drain. These people are leaving the government because they're getting fired. They're taking private sector jobs, and there's not going to be anybody to replace them.
Yeah. Kerry says, keep an eye out for Andy Beshear, Democratic governor of Kentucky. Yeah, I can see how he's a likely prospect too. I don't know how tough he is, but he is a decent human. So we've got that going for him. Me says, SCOTUS allowed to destruction of the Department of Education today. Let's just say, let's just, I just need to say the Supreme Court, it's fucking done. It's jumped the shark. It's allowing Donald Trump to go forward, at least temporarily, to tear apart the Department of Education. Uh, I don't know how big a deal that is because with McMahon running it, it's probably fucked up anyway. But the Supreme Court continues to let Donald Trump run roughshod, and people like Ketanji Brown Jackson and the other Democrats are just scorching the Supreme Court. If you've got that kind of dissension in the Supreme Court, is the Supreme Court even legitimate anymore?
It's not. It's not been legitimate.
Well, one of the things they need to do when Democrats win in 28, and it's a long ways away, is we need to expand the court to at least 13, flip the majority, and put decent people back on the court. But in part, we're only here because in 2016, there was an open Supreme Court seat, and everyone went, yeah, I can't bring myself to vote for Hillary, but how bad could Donald Trump really be?
Oh.
And then the Republicans steal 2 Supreme Court seats. If they would have voted for Hillary, maybe Kennedy doesn't resign, and you still have Scalia's seat open, get filled with a liberal. Ruth Bader Ginsburg probably doesn't die in office. She probably resigns, gets filled by Hillary. Maybe those are the only 2 seats full. And you're at a 5-4 liberal majority on the Supreme Court, not this bullshit 6-3 majority that we have now.
Exactly.
Well, James
the
is
Supreme
saying
Court is on the ballot every time the presidential election is up for grabs.
Absolutely. James says some of the 6 justices are on the Epstein list, and that's distinctly possible.
Yeah, I believe that.
What happens when we find that out? Can they be forced out?
They can be impeached and removed.
Yeah,
they can be impeached. Yeah.
They can be impeached, removed, or they can resign on their own. Now, if it comes out and it sees the light of day, between now and the midterms, now you're staring at the possibility of Donald Trump putting in, depending on who's on that list, which one stepped down, younger, more conservative justices. But if it happens after the midterms and Democrats have the Senate, ain't no way a conservative is getting through the Senate confirmation process. They're not going to put another person like Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito or Gorsuch or any of them on the bench. They'll leave that seat open. They'll pull a Republican Party or force Donald Trump to pick a moderate at best to get a seat filled.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Spacer says we need elected members of the Supreme Court. A lot of people say that. We need to elect them and we need term limits. Maybe that's true. Honestly, if I was to say, how do you fix the Supreme Court? You make it absolutely required that you have, if you keep it at 9, that you have 4 liberal, 4 conservative, and hopefully somebody that's the Chief Justice that's in the middle. Because that's the best way to democratically make decisions and make it rule of law. You don't get somebody with a 6-3 advantage and just run the table with Republican partisan bullshit. We need rule of law back. We don't have it right now, and we need a fair Supreme Court. We don't have that now. So why even bother with the Supreme Court until such time when it's at least equal, that
Right.
that we get legitimate answers as opposed to the bullshit we get now.
Well, I'm going to say, as far as electing or voting on Supreme Court nominees, we don't want that because of what I've seen here in Iowa. In Iowa, we have judicial retention, and for every seat, including the Iowa Supreme Court. And back before Obergefell became the law of the land nationwide, there was an Iowa Supreme Court case that allowed for gay marriage in the state of Iowa. It overturned a ban by the state legislature. But Republican members of the Iowa legislature ran with it and kept calling them, just like the Republicans always do. They were activist judges. They were this, they were that.
Yeah.
And just ran a smear campaign in the next election after gay marriage was allowed in the state of Iowa, that the 3 Iowa Supreme Court justices that were up for election that term all got voted out.
Yeah.
Right.
By 60% majorities, because most people did not know the whole story of what was going on. They believed the propaganda that it was judicial overreach, that it was activist judges, that they weren't letting the legislature do their job, and didn't even look deep enough into it and look at the decision and go, no, they overturned a law that was in violation of the Iowa Constitution. That didn't matter. They were able to get feelings involved, and you don't want to have judges worried about which way they're going to vote based on whether or not they're going to have a job after the polls.
That's true. Well, we're about an hour and a half deep into this. I know you guys got work to do tomorrow. I don't. I'll get up anytime I want because I'm a retired lazy bastard. But we got an hour and a half here. We got 30 minutes in TikTok before they took us down. But look at us here now. We're on
Right.
Substack. All is cool. We've got a lot of good input from people who have been watching, and I appreciate it immensely. So, Eric and TJ, I appreciate you coming on at the last minute when we got the shit kicked out of us in TikTok, and we were able to do this here. So I appreciate it immensely.
All right, Mike. Yeah, that was great to be
Thanks
here
for having
tonight.
me.
Yeah. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, no problem. And those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time to do that. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.